Neil.
Thank you.
And congratulations on winning the Compassionate Chronicle Grant. Tell us about the Winemaker's Secret.
Boy, that's a good question. The idea came from actually from a song by an Australian singer-songwriter named Mick Thomas. And he had a song that was a hit in Australia called Rosemary Gallipoli. And it was a story of a World War I soldier that came back. None of his fellow soldiers made it back, but he brought back a clipping from a rosemary bush in Turkey, in Gallipoli, and carried that with him throughout the war, and then brought it back and planted it in his backyard in Australia. I took that concept and moved it from World War I to World War II, the site from Australia to California, and turned it into wine clippings that he could start a vineyard in California, and as a concept of remembering his fallen soldiers that he was with in World War II, the main character. And then it sort of took a decidedly dark turn after that.
Neil, what do you enjoy most about writing?
I think the writing aspect is it carries on from reading. I think my love of reading is it takes you places that you may never necessarily go, to different worlds, different times. And I think writing, you get to create your own worlds and times and own stories within. And I think that's sort of an extension from my love of reading more than anything.
Very nice. So what do you enjoy most about the short story form?
Probably two things. That when you're writing a novel, for me, it's 8 to 12 months, sort of constructing it and putting it all together. The short story is usually one quick idea, that you can put pen to paper. Maybe it's not something you can flesh out into a full novel, but it's something intriguing to sort of keep your juices flowing. And I sort of use my short stories as interludes while between the novel writing. Because sometimes you get to the point where you'll write solid for a week or a month on the novel, and then hit a point where you sort of come up dry with ideas of where you want to go next. So rather than call it writer's block, I jump from the novel to the short story and work on something just to sort of keep the writing going, and then sort of work back and forth between the two. So I usually have a novel going and then 2 or 3 concepts for a short story as well, all at the same time, and kind of juggle between the 3.
So Neil, how has your experience with Words for Charity affected you as a writer?
It's been tremendous. I think one thing all writers, especially my level of writing, is you wonder if people, how they take your work, if anyone's actually reading it. You may sell books, but a lot of times you don't get a lot of feedback as to, well, it's a great book, I can't wait for the next one, or I'll never buy another book by this guy again. You never really know. So I think with the short story form and with your organization, you do get that feedback of people that are looking at your work and reading your work. And especially with the recognition I receive for it, it's really a boost in really wanting to keep on writing, knowing it's a worthwhile pursuit. And then on the flip side, knowing that you're writing for good causes as well is sort of the icing on the cake. It's great to think that people read your work and enjoy it. It's great to be recognized for it, but it's also great to know that what you're doing is going to help good causes as well.
Have you shared your stories through social media?
Yes. Yeah. From when I published my first book in 2016, I had a website up and running. And I've put, other than the novels, I've put the prologues and selected readings from the novels up there. But all of my short stories I've put on the website, other than the ones I've now been chosen, thankfully, by Words for Charity. They're available exclusively through the Words for Charity website. But I like to put my work out there. I feel I don't want to say it's greedy by authors to try and keep all of their work to themselves and only release it if someone's going to purchase it. I'd rather sort of put my work out there and try and build my name and my writing that way, and hopefully get better in doing it as well.
Okay. So So do you have any advice for the struggling writer or the writer who is just beginning?
Don't be afraid to put your work out there. I think my first novel, Closure, came out in 2016. It was really my first effort at a complete writing a novel other than the bits and pieces here and there. And it was a total learning process of going through it. I thought I had a good storyline and a plan pulled out, and I wrote myself into a corner so many times that I don't remember that I had to go back and rewrite chapter after chapter because I'd written myself and basically painted myself into a corner, and I couldn't get to where I wanted to go for the next chapter. So it's all a learning process. And I think the more you put yourself out there and try and build your brand as a writer and let people see what you've got, I would rather do it that way than sit with one novel I've been writing for 10 years and keep re-editing, and because it's like anything, that you never feel comfortable with the final product when you put it out. That's when you hit that send button and send off a manuscript, you get that, you get that almost, oh my God, I should have changed this. It's never going to be perfect, So it's a matter of just, let the child go and push them out and see if they can fend for themselves, sort of thing.
Okay, so now we're going to get a little personal. Tell us about Neil White.
Oh boy, this is going to be fun. Actually, I was born in Australia. Moved to America to play college tennis. My dream back when I was younger was to be a professional tennis player. Obviously that didn't work out so well. So I came over, went to college. I got a degree from Arkansas Tech University in economics and finance. Coached tennis for a few years after I graduated, still thinking of sort of holding on to the dream a little bit and wanted to stay involved in the game. After a couple of years of that, I decided to get a real job and worked in the airline industry for 10 years. And then from there went into banking for another 13, 14 years. But always sort of had a dream of doing something more. I never thought I was the corporate type person. I'm somewhat successful, I'd like to think, in different areas I was involved in different jobs. But always felt like there was something else that I really wanted to do. So I was lucky enough to take sort of early retirement a few years back and started writing. And a lot of it was, the first novel was just getting out sort of a lot of things that I had bottled up inside. A lot of it was a little autobiographical, other than trying to make it a novel people would actually want to read, the fictional parts. And then I thought I'd say, well, that could be one and done, or I'll really enjoy this and continue on. And I really enjoyed it and sort of had more ideas coming to me as I was writing the first novel. The idea for the second novel came out, and then ideas for short stories would pop into my mind. And so it sort of, I really enjoyed it and sort of continued on with it. Hopefully, I can for the foreseeable future and on.
What is next for Neil White?
What is next? Well, I had another novel just come out on August 31st. It was released by an independent publisher in the United Kingdom. So I'm sort of doing a lot of work trying to build that up right now, and hopefully set up book signings and sort of try and help move that along. I was lucky enough, got a lot of really excellent reviews for that in advance, which I learned from my first book that's a good idea to try and do and get it out there, and getting some really good reviews from some established authors. I've got another novel that's completed that I'm querying with agents and publishers now. I feel like it's a process of sort of building your name. I self-published my first novel. That did well enough to get me a contract with the publishing company in the UK for the second one. Still not a whole lot of money coming in, unfortunately, before anyone gets the idea that all of a sudden there's money floating down from the heavens. But hopefully, through the first two, I think my writing continues to get stronger. The third book is going to be the first in a planned series with a protagonist that I hope people will enjoy. And then I'm working on the fourth one as I'm trying to sell the third one. And then with a few more short stories in between.